Hey y'all, happy Monday. Today is March 23rd, and I'm coming to you guys with a word that God, gave to me this morning actually. But I think now is a great time to start that series that I've been telling you guys about since like January. There's a series that I wanted to start called When Love Finds You Again. And this is because I feel like we are in a time where there's been a lot of separation. Even God ordained relationships have been separated. God put you two together and God have now split you apart. This can go for love and romance. This can go for business. This can go for family relationships. This can go for a lot of different areas. It does not just have to be marriage and romantic. Like, we have to just be honest. When we have those splits, and when we have those splits specifically from God ordained relationships, it hurts and it sucks. No matter who the person is or what the person has done or didn't do, when we know that God has placed us in the presence or in a connection with someone, we think that it's a lifelong connection. We think that it's a person that we are always going to be connected to. Sometimes God will separate for a season. Sometimes God will separate for the rest of your life. You never encounter that person again. And the purpose in that still stands. Like, it doesn't change, if God separates you temporarily or if God separates you permanently. The purpose is still the same, which is God wants to bring you back into connection with a stronger, more fit love. Whether it comes from that same person or whether it comes from a different person or a new opportunity, God wants to bring you into the presence of God ordained and God aligned love. And that alignment, I think it looks differently because who we are today, we may not be that person next week, next month, next year. And God continues to elevate us based off who we are becoming and who it is that He wants us to be, what our purpose is. And so sometimes, just being honest, the weight of what God has placed on you, the person He has connected you to, they are not strong enough to hold it. Sometimes it's because that person has made that choice to not grow and have that strength. And so when that happens, God does not stop your purpose. God does not stop what He's doing in your life just because another person cannot get it right. No, what God will do is God will separate and God would elevate you. And when it comes to a point in time when you need that additional support, God will send you somebody who is more equipped to help you carry your purpose. So that is the importance of this series that I want to start, When Love Finds You Again. We are in purpose. God is calling a lot of men and women into purpose, and we need our purpose partners. So with that being said, I've recorded like 2 or 3 videos, I believe. I think it's just 2, but I really want to go ahead and start this one, and I'm going to go ahead and post this today, and then I'll edit the other ones and post those later. But I think this is, I'm going to try to get what God gave me earlier today, because God gave me something so good from this passage. So I don't have my notes because I'm recording on my phone. My laptop is downstairs. My tablet is in the car. I'm going to try to recall it the way that God gave it to me, but it was so good, y'all. I wanted to get up and record immediately then, but I was just not presentable. So I had to get myself together. So this is going to be found in Acts chapter 10. God led me to Acts chapter 10 for this. So it's titled Cornelius's Vision. So there was a man in Caesarea named Cornelius, a centurion of what was called the Italian regiment. He was a devout man and feared God along with his whole household. He did many charitable deeds for the Jewish people and always prayed to God. About 3 p.m, he distinctly saw in a vision an angel of God who came in and said to him, Cornelius. Staring at him in awe, he said, what is it, Lord? The angel told him, your prayers and your acts of charity have ascended as a memorial offering before God. Now send men to Joppa and call for Simon, who is also named Peter. He is lodging with Simon, a tanner, whose house is by the sea. When the angel who spoke to him had gone, he called 2 of his household servants and a devout soldier who was one of those who attended him. After explaining everything to them, he sent them to Joppa. The next day, as they were traveling and nearing the city, Peter went up to pray on the roof about noon. He became hungry and wanted to eat, but while they were preparing something, he fell into a trance. He saw heaven opened and an object that resembled a large sheet coming down, being lowered by its 4 corners to the earth. In it were all the 4-footed animals and reptiles of the earth and the birds of the sky. A voice said to him, "Get up, Peter, kill and eat." "No, Lord," Peter said, "for I have never eaten anything impure and ritually unclean." Again, a second time, the voice said to him, "What God has made clean, do not call impure." This happened 3 times, and suddenly the object was taken up into heaven. While Peter was deeply perplexed about what the vision he had seen might mean, right away the men who had been sent by Cornelius, having asked directions to Simon's house, stood at the gate. They called out, asking if Simon, who was also named Peter, was lodging there. While Peter was thinking about the vision, the Spirit told him, "3 men are looking for you. Get up, go downstairs, and go with them with no doubts at all, because I have sent them." Then Peter went down to the men and said, "Here I am, the one you're looking for. What is the reason you're here?" They said, "Cornelius, a centurion, an upright and God-fearing man, who has a good reputation with the whole Jewish nation, was divinely directed by a holy angel to call you to his house and to hear a message from you." Peter then invited them in and gave them lodging. The next day he got up and set out with them, and some of the brothers from Joppa went with him. The following day he entered Caesarea. Now Cornelius was expecting them and had called together his relatives and close friends. When Peter entered, Cornelius met him, fell at his feet, and worshipped him. But Peter lifted him up and said, "Stand up. I myself am also a man." And in another version it says, "I am also a human." That's key. While talking with them, he went in and found a large gathering of people. Peter said to them, "You know it's forbidden for a Jewish man to associate with or visit a foreigner, but God has shown me that I must not call any person impure or unclean. That's why I came without any objections when I was sent for. So may I ask why you sent for me?" Cornelius replied, 4 days ago at this hour at 3 p.m, I was praying in my house. Just then a man in dazzling clothing stood before me and said, "Cornelius, your prayer has been heard and your acts of charity have been remembered in God's sight. Therefore, send someone to Joppa and invite Simon here, who is also named Peter. He is lodging in Simon the tanner's house by the sea. So I immediately sent for you, and it was good of you to come. So now we are all in the presence of God to hear everything you have been commanded by the Lord." Peter began to speak. Now I truly understand that God doesn't show favoritism, but in every nation, the person who fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him. He sent the message to the Israelites, proclaiming the good news of peace through Jesus Christ. He is Lord of all. You know the events that took place throughout all Judea, beginning from Galilee after the baptism that John preached. How God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Spirit and with power, and how he went about doing good and healing all who were under tyranny of the devil, because God was with him. We ourselves are witnesses of everything he did in both the Judean country and in Jerusalem, and yet they killed him by hanging him on a tree. God raised up this man on the 3rd day and caused him to be seen, not by all the people, but by us whom God appointed as witnesses, who ate and drank with him after he rose from the dead. He commanded us to preach to the people and to testify that he is the one appointed by God to be the judge of the living and the dead. All the prophets testify about him, that through his name everyone who believes in him receives forgiveness of sins." While Peter was still speaking these words, the Holy Spirit came down on all those who heard the message. The circumcised believers who had come with Peter were amazed because the gift of the Holy Spirit had been poured out even on the Gentiles, for they heard them speaking in tongues and declaring the greatness of God. Then Peter responded, "Can anyone withhold water and prevent these people from being baptized, who have received the Holy Spirit just as we have?" He commanded them to be baptized in the name of Jesus Christ. Then they asked him to stay for a few days. So that was the whole chapter 10 Acts. And so what God gave me this here is like, this came from a question. So I was doing my devotional this morning, and it started with James chapter 3, which says, you know, your faith is going to be tested, but it's good that it's tested because it will produce perseverance. And so it started, and in my devotional, like, it asked questions, and it's like, how can you view the trials that you're going through in a different way? And so I have one situation that I'm going through, and I was able to view it in a different way. But then when it came to my love life, I said, well, God, you know, I don't understand this. So what is the trial with this, and how can I view this differently? God led me to Acts chapter 10. Hey y'all. So listen, I had to go get my laptop. I had to get something to get to my notes because I tried to record just off the top of my head and I messed that message up so bad. So I have my notes here that I took earlier. These are my personal notes. I did not arrange them. I probably should have arranged them, but I did not arrange them in no way. But we're just going to read off of this and I'm going to speak to it. So I said how God led me to Acts chapter 10, and it says, now in one situation, they recognized Cornelius as a devout and God-fearing man. They recognized him as being somebody who praises God and who takes care of those around him. So an angel appeared to him and said, your prayers have been answered, and God has seen how you take care of people, so I need you to send some men to go get Peter. And I want you to take that as the person who is waiting for God to sing you your love story, for God to sing you your wife or your husband. It says God took note of what Cornelius was doing. God knew that he was a God-fearing man. God knew that he was devout to God. God knew that Cornelius was taking care of the poor people and the other people around him. Continue being who God calls you to be while you're waiting. Don't think that your good efforts go unnoticed. And you have to think about it like this. You are good because God calls you good. You're not good because you want that man or you want that woman or you trying to get noticed. You're good. Be good. Be that good person because God calls you to be that person. God is our first husband, our first wife anyways. God is the first. Jesus is the first one. Right? So we have to first be committed to God before we can try to commit ourselves to another person. So be who God has called you to be while you are waiting. Don't get frustrated in that waiting. And I know it's easier said than done because I get frustrated in that waiting. But I'm also a good person outside that waiting. Like anything that I do for anybody, it's not to get noticed. It's not to get no ring. It's not so God can say, this is my husband and he could come to me. It's not for that man to notice me and say, that's my wife. I do what I do because I genuinely care about people and I want people to be successful and I want them to have a safe space. I want them to know that they have somebody who cares about them and wants them to succeed and wants them to be okay. Even in those ways, like mentally and emotionally, like a lot of people just like to check on the exterior of a person. And if you don't look sad, then I take it that you're not sad. But for me and somebody who has very, very strong discernment, I feel people's energy. I feel when people are overwhelmed or aggravated or anything like that. And so I will, place myself in a space where they know that I'm available if they need that safe space to land, if they need a hug, if they need a vent. Continue being that good person. And even in that waiting time, even in that season when you're waiting for God to bring your person to you. So that's the first part. Then it says, now, God has told Cornelius to send some men to go get Peter. And it says, as the men were nearing the town, Peter was having an encounter with God. So Cornelius already had that encounter with God. God did not have that encounter with Peter till some days later. They did not get the message at the same time. Peter got that message as the people were nearing the town. That means as it was almost time for him to walk into the very thing that God was calling him into. And he didn't even know God was calling him into that thing. But as it was time for him to walk into that thing, Peter had an encounter with God. Peter was up on the roof, hungry, waiting to get something to eat. God lets down a sheep. Got animals on it. He says, kill and eat these animals. Peter says, God, I can't eat anything that's impure. God says, don't call impure what I have made pure. Don't call unclean what I have made clean. God showed that vision to Peter 3 different times. In that moment, what it spoke to me is, as it was getting close for Peter to walk into his new purpose, he had an encounter with God. He had some healing. God had to do some things in his mind and in his heart. A lot of time, and I want you to think about a man or a woman who has been hurt. And so now they run from the very thing that they want. Or now, like I want you to be, there are some women who have been so hurt from men that now all they want to do is just take money from men. So those are the women that a lot of times be the one that asks you straight out the gate, can you help me with some bill money? Can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? I'm not saying all women do that, but I'm saying there are some women who get to the point where they only want to use men because they have felt used up. So they only want to use men. They only want to deal with you just to see what they can get out of you. And as long as you continue handing out, they will continue taking. And it's the same thing with men. There are some men who have been hurt. So now all they want to do is take from a woman, whether it be sex, whether it be money, whether it be your quality time and your attention, whatever it is. These people have been so hurt that now they look at this thing that was once very pure and they look at it as impure and unclean, and all they want to do is be able to take because they feel like people have done nothing but take from them. Peter had an encounter with God as it was almost close for him to walk into a purpose that he didn't even know was coming. God had to rewire his mind. God had to renew his mind and renew his heart about how he felt about that thing. God on the back end is saying, I'm about to bring you around these people that you used to not associate with. Peter didn't know why God was doing all of that. God knew, I got somebody coming for you. You about to go get them a message, but these are people that you have previously looked at as unclean and as people that you should not interact with. I first need to do some healing work in you so that you can know that when I bring you back around these people, you will know not to treat them in the way that you have treated them before, because I have said that they are renewed. I have looked at their heart and said that they are good. So first, God sees your prayers. God hears what you want. And God is sending for the answer to that prayer. But you got to do some heart work, and God got to heal you. God got to heal the things. And let's just be honest, every hurt thing is not as extreme as using people. Some people overgive because they want to be noticed and want to be validated. They overgive, they overextend themselves to maintain relationships. Some people have trust issues. They undergive. They don't trust nothing that you got going. I struggle with that. When people want to do good things for me, I be looking at, why you want to do that? Like somebody who I met here who knows that I'm not working, and he's just a friend. But I met him at a coffee shop, and he was like, he messaged me like a couple weeks ago, and he was like, well, let me know if you want like a sweet treat or you want something, and I'll Uber it to you. And I was immediately, my head said, why you want my address? Why you trying to come over here? He could really be wanting to be a genuine person, but I don't trust people's good intentions. I only trust my own good intentions. I don't trust other people's intentions. So that's something that God has to work out in me as well. So then, now as Peter has this message, these people are downstairs at this very moment asking for him. And God goes to Peter and says, hey, there are 3 men downstairs looking for you. I want you to go with them with no hesitation. Peter still doesn't know why God showed him that vision, nor does he know why God is sending him with those men. He don't know that they are, I can't remember if Peter is Jewish or Gentiles, but I know that at the time they didn't mess with each other. So Peter didn't know that it was the other person or the other, I'm gonna say op. Peter ain't know it was the ops he was finna go to. He just knew God showed him a vision with a message, and God told him to go with the people that are outside for him. He had no clue who these people were, or still he had no clue what God's purpose was, why he even sent people to him. So Peter let the people in, they share a meal, they spend the night, and then the next day they are on the way to Cornelius, who is now waiting for them. So Cornelius knows God has told me to send for somebody, and I know that that person is going to come back. That's a faith move, because he didn't know for sure if Peter was going to come back. He just knew that an angel of God said, God hears your prayers. God sees what he's doing. And now he wants you to send for somebody else. Cornelius didn't know who Peter was. Peter didn't know who Cornelius was. They just know that they on assignment. They don't even know what's finna happen. They just know that they on assignment. So it says when Cornelius sees Peter, he falls to his knees and starts to worship Peter. Peter says, I'm human too. And I feel like the realization with that is a lot of time we think that when God sends these people that they are perfect people. And I've talked about this before. I don't know if it's something that I already posted. And because it could be another video within the series that I didn't post yet. But we think that when God sends these people to us, that they are perfect people that have no flaws. They have done all the work. They know exactly what they want. They know exactly what their purpose is. Peter still didn't even know why he was there. When he gets there, Peter asks him, why have you sent for me? I'm here. Peter still didn't know God's purpose. He just knew God sent him somewhere and he got there. And now he's face to face with Cornelius, with this man who has dropped to his knees and worshiped him. He still don't know. Cornelius just know that this is a person sent from God. Peter still don't know his purpose. And then Peter says, I'm human. You don't need to worship me. Yes, I might be your answer from God, but I'm human. You don't need to worship me. You don't need to overgive. You don't need to beg for me. You don't need to give me money or anything like that for me to stay. You be yourself. Be who God has called you to be. Continue being that devout, God-fearing woman or devout, God-fearing man. You don't switch up when you get the answer to your prayers. And that's new because I didn't get that earlier. You don't switch up. That person is not perfect. That person is not God for you to be worshiping them and looking at them as they are this imperfect person, this miracle, as if they're God. Like, we have to be honest, a lot of time when we are waiting for this person to come into our life and they finally come into our life, we treat them like they the new God. And I'm talking about it don't have to be a purpose, because remember what I said in the beginning, when love finds you again, it don't have to be no romantic relationship. It could be a familial relationship. It could be a relationship that you had before that was separated and it's healed now. It could be a friendship. It could be a business partnership. You start looking at this person with the knowledge that they got, with the money they got, with the wisdom that they got, and you looking at them as if they're God and they're not God. Peter said, I'm human too. I don't need you to worship me. I still don't even know why I'm here. So after that, after he pulls Cornelius up, Peter asks, why am I here? And then Cornelius says, God told me to send for you. I had an encounter with an angel a couple days ago and they told me to send for you. Now it clicks to Peter. Now his purpose, the message that God gave him initially, because then Peter says, now I truly understand that God doesn't show favoritism, but in every nation, the person who fears him and does what is right is acceptable to him. Peter has that revelation or that understanding that God don't look at you no more than God look at me. And even previously, he says, it's forbidden for a Jewish man to associate with or visit a foreigner, but God has shown me that I must not call any person impure or unclean. That's why I came without any objection when I was sent for. Peter has the revelation of why God has sent him forth. But he did not initially know. He just moved on assignment. He just moved because God told him to. He didn't even know the people he was going into. He didn't even know who he was going to. And so in this, it's a process. It's a process. When it comes to God bringing you love again, it's a process. It comes with you continuing to be who God calls you to be. You have to work on yourself first before you be focused on that list. They love to say, make a list of the man you want, make a list of the woman you want. Before you focus on that list, how about you focus on you being who God calls you to be? You focus on you being that person on the list. You can't say you want a person that's honest and you lying all the time. You can't say you want a person who's giving and you don't do nothing but take. You can't say you want somebody that's in the church and you don't even go to church. How about you be that person that's on the list? Because if you're asking God to send you a person, then you're asking for God to send you a God-fearing woman or a God-fearing man, a God-ordained person in your life. How about you be that God-ordained person in your life? So that's one. Be who God calls you to be. Two, understand that when y'all get a message, when you get a message about God answering your prayers, I know we like to talk, and it's plenty of things and sayings that I say, like, we live in a microwave world where we want things immediately. Everything ain't so immediate. Peter and Cornelius did not get that message at the same time. They got it a couple days apart, but they didn't get it at the same time. Peter could not even receive that message yet because he had some healing to do. How can God send Peter a message saying, I want you to go preach to the Jews, and Peter in his heart and in his mind is saying, y'all is nasty people. I can't be around y'all. I can't even talk to you. I see you walking on one side of the street. I got to cross the street, go on the other side because I don't even need to be around you. We can't breathe the same air. God could not give Peter that message yet until God did some work in his heart and in his mind. So the message doesn't come at the same time. There's some healing that has to be done. And guess what? Please believe, even if that other person still has to be healed, there is still some healing that has to be done in you. So I know a lot of time we like to look at it like that person need to be healed. That person has some issues that they need to work through. That person needs to go to counseling. But what about you? See, the only reason why it didn't mention anything about Cornelius needing to be healed or needing to have a message from God is because it already noted that he was a devout, God-fearing man. Are you devout and God-fearing? Before you try to take the microscope and the telescope off of yourself and point it at somebody else and point out their issues, are you a devout Christian? Are you a God-fearing woman? Are you a God-fearing man? You need work too. Peter wasn't the only person that, or in your life, your Peter is not the only person that needs work. So there's that. 3, sometimes you don't have full understanding of what's going on. Peter had no clue what that vision meant or why, when those men were coming for him, why he was going to them. He had no clue why God gave him that vision, why God gave him that message, or why God said, there are 3 men downstairs looking for you. I want you to go with them. He had no clue. He just knew to follow God. God will send you on assignment. God might be sending you to your person. And guess what? It might not just come with rings and flowers and dates right there immediately. It might come with a purpose. It might come with you having to share a message. It might come with you being the reason why they grow and become a better person. Do y'all ever think about that? I don't think about that a lot. I think about that when God make me think about it. But for the most part, I really desire somebody who's already together. I'm not even all the way together. But I desire somebody to be all the way together. And God is saying, in that journey, sometimes there is another purpose attached to a relationship that God brings to you. You might think it's initially business, but you could be the reason why that person starts going back to church. You think that you met this man because it's time for y'all to be married, but you might be the reason why he repairs his relationship with his mom. You might think that this woman is in your life, or you might think that this man is in your life to come in and heal what your ex broken, but you might not even realize that you're the reason why he starts his business. God has been telling him for years to start a business, and he didn't think that he was capable, but you spoke so much love and light into him He's now started his business. We be thinking, I'm telling y'all, and I'm going to say we because it's me too. We be thinking when we meet people, it's just immediately the very thing that we ask God for. Oh, this is the answer to my business prayer. Oh, this is the answer to me healing my relationship with my family. Oh, this is the relationship for me to get married. No, it could be a whole other purpose attached to it. You have to be open. Heck, you might meet this man and you think that this your husband. Whole time it's his brother. But because you done jumped into a relationship with him without seeking God, without trying to understand why God purposed this man in your life, now you done interfered with something because God said his brother was your husband. But you thought the first fine man that you saw was going to be your husband. Now you done messed it up. Now you done interfered with your God-ordained relationship. You might think that the woman that you met is supposed to come into your life and be your wife. Whole time, she's the connect to your next career opportunity, and that's where your wife is at. But you done jumped in the bed with her, and you done started a relationship with her. Y'all done been together for 2 years. Now, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's too many different things, y'all. It's too many different things. God's answers to our prayers are sometimes not as direct as we think they are. It don't say what Cornelius prayed for. But again, we don't know why. And I keep coming back to this, so I'm going to go ahead and look it up. There's a 1 Corinthians chapter 13. You know, when it's very famous for the love is patient, love is kind, love is this, love is that. It's very famous for that. But at the bottom, it has a very good message that God sat with me about. And I'm going to read it real quick. It's verses 8 through, let's start at verse 9. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when the perfect comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put aside childish things. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will know fully as I am fully known. God says God will prophesy in part. He prophesies in part to us. We don't know the full story when God initially comes to us with something. We don't know the whole thing. But you got to sit there and wait, and you got to finish the journey out so you can figure it out. Peter had no clue why he had that vision and why he was called forth. He did not know, but he went. He went. He did not allow his lack of knowledge to stop him from going forward. Do not allow your lack of knowledge to stop you from walking into an assignment that God has sent you on. If God has told you to do something, or if God has told you to be somewhere, that's what you need to do, regardless of if you know the answers or not. Regardless of if you have God, why is it happening like this? Why is this person like this? Why is it like this? Why I gotta let this go? Why I gotta go with this? Instead of you asking all those questions, how about you go and do what God has told you to do? Imagine had Peter stopped and said, well, God, before I go anywhere, first, let's talk about this vision. Because why you just randomly gave that to me? Like, I'm just outside chilling. Like, what are you saying? I need to know what you're saying. I'm bad with that. I'm bad. I love to ask me some questions before I even do what God told me to do. Something that I'm still working on. Instead of asking so many questions, how about you just do what God has told you to do? So then, Peter goes and he gets with Cornelius, and Cornelius falls down and worship him. Your answer to the prayer is not your God. The opportunity, the job, the new house, the new environment, it is not your God. One thing that God recently dropped on me, with everything that I have going on in my life, I changed how I started looking at a job. I was thinking, because y'all know I want to do the real estate stuff and stuff like that. I was looking at a job, applying to jobs like crazy, because I'm like, this job is going to help me fund my business. It's going to help me pay my bills, and it's going to help me have the money set aside to put in my business. A job is not that for me no more, y'all. I have not worked in a month. and I'm stable still. Do I know how I'm going to pay my rent next month? No, but I trust God to do what he's going to do because he's not going to have me homeless. So I don't look at a job as stability no more. A job is literally just a resource. A job is, for me, a job is a stepping stone for me to get into my purpose. A couple weeks ago, I had a manager that I've never talked to before reach out to me about these jobs. She got my name from somebody else in her company. Never talked to that person before either. I said this would be a good job because it'll help me with this new purpose that God got coming inside of me. It'll give me experience. It'll give me new skills. It'll give me some networking connections. It'll give me some expansion of my vocabulary, because if I work a high job and I'm around executives and senior leaders, I'm not finna just be talking like I talk to my friends. I'm going to expand my vocabulary. I'm going to figure out what this say or what this means so I can say it in a conversation. I'm going to elevate my vocabulary. I'm going to expand my vocabulary. That is needed for this very next thing that God is about to have me do, y'all. Can't talk about it yet, but it's needed for what God is about to have me do. So if I get this job, this is not the end all be all for me. This is the stepping stool, the stepping stone for God to work on me before I get fully in my purpose. And I thought that was so cool because I had been stressed out for years because jobs were stability. My job is not a stability no more. If I get this job, and it's going to be the highest paid job I've ever had, but still, that money is not for stability. That money is going to be, or it's not even that money. That job is not going to be for money. That job is going to be for me to continue purifying and being refined so that God can fully push me into my purpose. This job is for refinement, not stability. So, yeah, the answer to God's prayer is not, the answer to your prayer is not your idol. It is a resource. It is a human. It is support. It is not your idol. It is not the end all be all. I don't care if it's a man that you do end up marrying. I don't care if it's a woman that you do end up marrying. I don't care if it's a business partner that you end up making tens of millions of dollars with. They are not your source. They are a resource. They are something that God is using to help you, but God is your source. Remember that as God starts to answer your prayers, these things are not your source. Remember that, because the same way you fall in love with these things and you try to replace God with these things is the same way that God will take them away. It says very clearly in the Bible, God is a jealous God. He do not play that. The last thing is when the vision hits you, I don't want to say be grateful for your journey, because I want you to already be grateful for your journey before the answer hits, before you have understanding of why things had to happen the way that they did. I want you to already be grateful, but when it hits, I'm going to say this. When it hits, be ready to tell your story. When it hits, be ready to tell your story. When you finally understand why God gave you that random message, why God sent you to that random place, why God took this away from you, and why God added this to you, when you finally understand it, be ready to tell your story. That's it, y'all. I feel like that was kind of all over the place, but listen, it be like that sometimes. Y'all just, let God minister this word to you in the way that it's supposed to be, in the way that he wants to minister to you. But ultimately, when love finds you again, there's a process. There's a process to it. And in that process, or before that process happens, or while you're in the midst of that process, I want you to be found doing and being who God called you to be, and doing what God called you to do. Waiting patiently while God sends that person to you. 3, move on assignment. When God sends you a message and you don't understand, when God connects you with a person and you don't understand, just move on assignment before you even have clarity. Before that. 4, do the healing. Do the healing. Let God renew your mind and renew your heart and renew your spirit so that you don't look at love or partnership the same way. So that you don't look at these things the same way. Let God do that healing in you. That's 4. 5, whatever it is that God is bringing in your life, whatever your prayer is that God is answering, it is not your God. Remember God first. 6, understand that the answer to your prayer is not perfect. Well, that's the same thing. So that's 5. That's 5. 6, when you remember the whole journey of why all of this came together, when the vision starts to make sense to you, be ready to testify about it. That is the word, you guys. I love y'all, and I will see y'all on my next one.